Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Musings and Music Show on Vosa World Radio. My name, as you already know, is Egbem Biwan Monjimbo, and I'm coming to you on Vosa World Radio for the audio part, and then the Vosa World TV channel on YouTube for the visual part of this chat. I'm excited. I don't know how I can say it. I'm talking over myself even about this particular show because I have somebody here with me that I have known for years since Sacred Baptist College, and she has grown and blossomed and covered a lot. There is no way, even if we did 1 hour, 2 hours, 24 hours, we'll be able to cover all that she has done, all that she has accomplished in her young life. But I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to her and let us see how she would introduce herself. How would you introduce yourself in a nutshell?
Thank you, Sister Egwe, for this invitation. I was excited to be invited by you to your show. I'm Sister Jackie Atabong, an EXA. I went to Sacred Baptist College and I did 5 years there. And then I became a religious. I'm a sister of St. Teresa of the Child Jesus of Buea in Cameroon. I studied nursing, and now I've just completed my doctoral program in clinical psychology, and I hope to go back to Cameroon to work. So I was a nurse before, and I'm happy with this continuation of my career. I wouldn't say change of career because it's now taking care of not just the physical health, but mental health as well. So I'm excited to be here, and I've worked with prisoners before. I still work with them, and I hope to continue to work with them and vulnerable persons.
You know what I'm going to ask you? I know some of the answers to the questions I'm going to ask you, but for those who don't know you, I'm going to go ahead and ask them all the same. Because she mentioned Sacred Baptist College. Well, it says Sacred, there's a big old Baptist in that the name of that college. But here, as you can see from her garb, if you did not catch it, this is a Reverend Sister. So how does one come out of Sacred Baptist College and be a Reverend Sister? People understand Okoyong, Queen of the Rosary College. People understand Lady of Lords College. And then we're going to Sacred Baptist College. Did you go into Sacred Baptist College already with that vision in mind? Or when did you actually decide to take on this vocation?
Yes, I went to Sacred Baptist College with that in mind, although it was not like in the forefront of my mind. When I was like age 5, I started thinking about becoming a nun, and I grew up with that on my mind. When I came to Sacred, I was just like any regular student, and I really enjoyed my life in Sacred. But at the back of my mind, I was thinking about becoming a nun, although occasions didn't come up for me to think about, to say it to others. But at one stage, one of the Reverend Sisters visited the school, and I made my idea known to the students and to that sister, and it became a big song in Sacred, and everybody was like surprised. How do you want to become a Reverend Sister? Because although I said I was regular, I also just did whatever every other student did, and people did not expect me to leave Sacred Baptist College and go to a convent, but I was really convinced that that was what God was calling me to do, and so I followed my calling.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, you were on the volleyball team.
I was in the basketball team. I acted in drama. I know we acted different kinds of drama at school. I was actually not just regular. I was one of those students who were always, at the edge of doing something extra. So
right.
It didn't look obvious that I was going to become a nun. Even when I went to St. Augustine's College, which is a Catholic school, I went there because I wanted to become a nun too. Right. But the students did not believe, because I was quite sociable, and people think that those who are sociable shouldn't become nuns. And they all found it very strange to think that I would become a nun. But I was very convinced, and I just followed my calling. It was challenging at some stage. When I saw my friends going to university, and everybody was making their choices, going to Europe, and I was thinking that I wanted to go to the convent, and I just had like this thought, what if there is no God and I become a nun? Right. What's going to happen to that? So that was a very trying time for me, but that was also the time that challenged me to make up my mind.
Exactly.
Because Yes, when
So
I felt that if there's no God and I make all the sacrifices, what's going to become of me? Then I talked with one nun who was in the school, and she gave me the passage of the rich young man to read. The rich young man, and so this man had everything. He had his
what does
wealth,
it
he had
profit
his
a
future. He
man?
was a good person actually.
Correct.
And Jesus said, "Go sell everything you have, give the money to the poor, then come follow me."
Right.
And when I read that passage, I reflected on it. I made up my mind to follow Christ in that way, because the man went away sad. He didn't want to follow Christ, but I didn't want to be sad. So when I made up my mind and I went to the convent, I just had so much peace, and I was just so convinced that that is the right thing.
You followed your calling. You listened to the voice of God and were obedient to it. It is a marvel to me, and I'm in awe and total respect of that. Because that is what Mary herself did, little girl. Because we used to think about Mary, they show some 20-something-year-old or even 30-something-year-old mama, and we talk about Mama Maria, and you think about her as old till you read the script. Till now, we know the history, because that was a teenager, a young person who they told this, and she says, "My soul magnifies the Lord." I'm like, girl, your soul magnifies the Lord. I'll be like, can't you go find her about Mary, the other Lydia over there? Can't you go? People understanding their calling, it's a marvelous thing, and I know God is definitely pleased with you. But then what is also pleasing and interesting to the rest of us lay people is that to see a sister who, like you have described, is not the typical Reverend sister. And that I don't mean in a bad way. Because when I used to Reverend sisters, they need to look solemn, sad. Look at you. Yes. So, which is even partly why people say, I know I'm going to be my Reverend sister. Because they think about it means that your life will end. Life as you know it will end. That's not Sister Jackie for you. I can tell you that. You need to go online and look at what she does. Look, she already talked about the prison ministry. Maybe you would think prison ministry is that she ties a little, covers herself up and goes and sits down there and says, here's some food, and just, if you see Sister Jackie on the microphone, singing and dancing with that way the prisoners relate so much more. And not anything that is out of what a nun should be doing, following the canons, if I can say it that way, but also being somebody who is relatable, somebody who goes out to reach the people. And that is what that calling is, in my humble opinion, all about. You draw in more people that way than by being somebody that they cannot relate to, which is what I kind of see Jesus doing. He didn't sit there for only people to come to him. He went and met the woman by the well, went there and sat under the sun. And his disciples are like, who is this you're talking to? He says, I'm having a conversation right here. So it has always intrigued me. I get my chance to tell you, I've always been intrigued and very much impressed by what you have done, because I saw this ministry. I watched the videos. I saw what it is that you've been doing, and I'm very impressed by it. But the reason why you're on this show today is a little bit different from what you have done in the past with the ministry, the prison ministry. What is this new branch you're diving into now, if you don't mind explaining to us?
Yes. Now, given the situation in Cameroon, the upheaval that has been there, people have been displaced, women, girls, and people have been showing videos, showing all kinds of things. Girls, who have been displaced, they are on the streets. Some of them have gone into prostitution, or just in families going all around. So they don't have work, they don't have places to live in. Some of them live in churches or people's corridors. Children working in people's farms in Douala, those have been displaced. Looking at all those things, and I just said to myself, we can't just keep looking at all these videos going around and then do nothing about it. So that's one of the things that spurred me to say, no, I've seen a lot of this. What can we do? What actions can we take to help these girls, these women, these children who have been out of school, who have been out of their homeland, and they're just struggling? How can we help them reintegrate into society? So that is why I came up with this NGO called SEV Foundation, Support and Empowerment of Vulnerable Persons, where we try to give back life to these people whose lives have been taken away from them by the upheaval in the English-speaking part of Cameroon. And so with this, we tried to open, first of all, we carried out a survey to go around to see what is happening in the community. And one of the things we found is that sadly, women are taking advantage of these girls who have nowhere to live, and they're making them into, turning them into prostitutes. The women have become pimps and they're turning them into prostitutes. I sent people out to go and see what is happening, and that's what they told me, that we have women who have this
brothels.
Brothels. And then these girls are there and they have this these big men who are protecting them, and the girls are kept in rooms and people come in and use them. And then, you know, in the morning, during the day, they have one room where all of them go and sleep there and wait until night. And women are doing this to other girls who are, you know, underprivileged. So I just said, no, we need to do something about it. And so we started going around to look for some of those girls to get them out of those places. And that's part of what we're doing.
Right. And just to step in there, she's not making it up. So I had seen a video. I'm sure most of you who are watching this or listening to this have seen those videos on WhatsApp there. Sometimes you see the video, they've tried to at least block the person's identity by putting a little black rectangle across their face. But I saw one where they actually interviewed a young girl who said she was in Form 4 in a school somewhere. And then now they got displaced. She does not know where her parents are, but she has 2 younger siblings, her brothers, to look after. So she's into prostitution. She was actually talking about the price she charges with a condom, price she charges without a condom. I was sitting there just wanting, my heart was just ripping, tearing up, because it's not as if it's one of those who you say has chosen the profession. Definitely not. She was in school. This happened. She's there destitute. She's thinking about her brothers that she has to feed. So that's what she's reduced to. And like you pointed out now, other women who should be sympathizing and saying these are the ones pimping them in organized position, like we know. I don't even want to go to the men who are patronizing this thing, because there's enough blame to go around, but it's a painful situation. And I'm so glad to hear that you are, the rest of us sit and say, where, this is sad, where, but you are doing something about it. So what is the name? What you called it? That you said the name for it. What do you call? What are you calling this organization that
foundation?
We call it, sorry,
SEV Foundation, Support and Empowerment of Vulnerable Persons.
Okay, so SEVP.
Yeah, no, the P is silent. So
P is silent. Okay, so let me
support and empowerment of vulnerable persons. Correct. And that's not just all of it. Some like one of the girls we met, who is in our center now, we just found her sitting at a petrol station with a little bag with a few of her things there, because she was stranded and somebody took them into their home, but then she became like a slave in that house. She was working, doing everything until she just got so tired of it that she decided to run away and stay at a petrol station. So that's where we met her and picked her up. She was just crying all the time. We've gone to some of the villages around Douala. There you meet children and women working in the farms of people, and they don't even pay them at the end of the month because they don't have anywhere to go to. So they work in farms. Children, instead of going to school, are working in people's farms. And then lots of them are just hawkers, just trying to see what they can do to earn a living. You see girls, and they don't have anywhere to go to. You see a girl who maybe left class 7, is 4 years, she hasn't gone to school. She just grows so big, you don't even know what to do with her at this time, because she now sometimes feels too big to go to Form 1, or so they are stranded. They don't know whether they should go to Form 1 or they should just continue to do something else. Yes, some of them have been so much long out of school that they just cannot even catch up. They don't even want to go back to school, or they cannot catch up. They've forgotten things that they learned before. So there are just so many things happening with the different girls and women. And so we decided to rent an apartment and put some of them there. It's a very small apartment. We put some of them, we have about 14 girls there who we have sent them back to school. And then, so we help them to get back to school, and we follow up with them.
Right. So schools in the littoral, in the Douala
Yes,
area,
schools in the littoral area, because we made them there in that littoral area, and since it's safer for now, and they are already there, so we took them and they've gone back to school, and actually 2 of them are in the university now. They passed their A-levels, yes. And some people have been helping us to pay the rent, to send them back to school. We also work with those children some of them who are in Douala, there in different areas, and the parents are not able to send them back to school. Those whom we can, we visit them, we find out why the children are not going to school, and then we try to send them back to school. So there are quite a number of them. We'll be able to send about 200 children back to school, and primary and secondary school. And they're really very happy, and we're happy also that we're able to help them in a little way.
In a huge way. I'd correct you on that one. In a huge way, because that is making a big, even if you did that for just one person, you've changed their life and the life of their future forever. You have given them a chance that they would not ordinarily have had. So the natural question that I will ask then is, how can the rest of us listening to this who are really feeling bad about it, how can we help? What can we do to help?
Yes, there's so many things that you can do. For instance, you can help to send one child back to school. You can help to decide to keep one girl in the shelter for 1 year. You can help to buy books or pay for their personal needs, whatever you think you can do, because we do it in different ways. For instance, even, let me say, in schools, in places like Ekondo Titi, Tombel, in villages, in Banks, or whatever area they are, where our sisters work, and we know that schools are going on there, we try to send some of those children to those places because we know they can be protected. So it's not just those who are in Douala. So we can send children back to schools in different places. If you want to, we're able to source the students who are in need or children who are in need in those areas and send them back to school. But in Douala, for one girl to stay in a shelter for 1 year, we ask for support of about $250 a year. That is, we give it the minimum in the sense that we can pay her school fees, and then we manage to take care of her basic needs. You know, if you can give more, we accept to go give that as a basis, because we don't want to exaggerate things that will make it difficult. We have to pay house rent, we have to pay for their utilities, their personal needs, their basic needs, and then their health needs, and so on. It could be a lot more than that, but we just ask for a basic of $250 a year per child, so that we can take care of those in the shelter. Even those going to school, we ask for the same, in the sense that if you help a child with $250, we can pay their fees, because the fees in the French area in English schools are more expensive than the schools in the English area. So we can pay their fees, buy their uniforms and books. If we don't have enough, we pay their fees, buy their exercise books, and then they don't have textbooks, which makes it also difficult for them. But with $250, you can send a child back to school, or you can keep a girl in a shelter for 1 year.
That is, for some people, it's the price of one pair of shoes, is the price of one purse, which will, you will forget it even somewhere, or it may get stolen, or it will get turned, it will rip after a while. And nobody says you should not keep getting the purse and stuff, just like one purse less, one pair of shoes less, one, I don't know, outfit less, and then somebody will go to school for an entire year. You see, that's the thing. As we get, some of us get older, or just a little bit more sensitive to what is going on around us, more and more we learn that it is what we do for others, especially for people who will never even meet us here to say thank you. You just, things that you do for somebody that you don't know, not because it's your actual sister, your actual niece, your actual somebody, that you do that would help. So if somebody has this $250 now, I know some people who actually are listening to this, who are watching this, who will be able to, where do they send the $250 to? Yes,
we have a website called www.sevfoundation.org.
And that is that SEVP?
Yes, SEV Foundation. No, the P.
Okay, you don't put the P. So it's just there, but you don't really mention it. I thought you meant when you pronounce it. You really mean even when you say it and when you write it, you don't mention it. So it's just SEV
Foundation, yes.
Okay,
Foundation.
Okay, and that will be one word. www.sevfoundation.org. So if they go on there now, they'll find a donate button, I'm thinking.
Yes.
And you click on it and just go ahead and make a donation right there. And
Yes.
so the good thing too about what you're saying is that it's not just there's you there, quite all right, but you are walking through the Catholic Church, which is already pretty well structured. Because some of us are skeptical about giving money to somebody who is going to try to go now and try to figure out, how do I get these people? How do I get here? The Catholic Church is already planted in those places before both of us sitting here were born. The diocese was already there, the parish was already there, and so there's structure already. So people are doing the groundwork pretty much, and they're able to identify. Because the next thing would be, if I send money to my aunt who lives in Shisam, is she now going to just go around and start looking on the street like, who is this person? Already people in need gravitate towards these facilities already, these entities already. And so they are much better off being able to identify the people who really need this help, and then being able to organize and give them the help they need. So I'm hearing, go ahead, please, you're going to say something.
Yes, so I was going to say that there's another branch of it that is coming up that that I'll be starting off soon after, since I go back to Cameroon, which is like the end of this year when I finish, or beginning of next year. So we know that lots of children have experienced trauma and it's troubling them a lot. Parents, nobody knows how to deal with them. Children have seen family members slaughtered. They've seen, people beaten up and head gunshots. And as children, they don't know how to process these emotions. And so they don't have words for it. And so this usually, as they see, they learn that kind of attitude. And they think that that is normal, because as a child is growing up, their brain is making connections and learning things. And so if a child is growing in an environment where they're shooting, they're fighting, they're killing, the child is registering those things in their minds, and that might feel like normal to them. And some of them, they see lots of things happen to them, but they don't know how to process it. So they become emotionally dysregulated. And then they may go to school, they're not able to concentrate, they're not able to focus, they become agitated in class, and maybe their teachers wouldn't know how to deal with that, and they themselves don't know what is happening to them, and their parents don't know what is happening to them, and then maybe they'll be beating them that they should sit quiet in class, whereas the child has another problem. So one of the things that I'm hoping that when I go back to Cameroon to do is to try to help train maybe already counselors who are there, although if not, we'll find people we can train for like 6 months on trauma, and so that we can go to schools and work with these children and help them process these emotions, or these feelings and so on, which they have experienced, but which they don't know how to deal with. And then, help teachers to understand what is happening to the children as well, help parents to understand what is happening, and then even help the teachers to process their own trauma, because everybody has experienced trauma in different ways. But children, it's worse for them because they don't have words for it, and they don't know what to say about it. And so to help them process this and create trauma-sensitive schools so that we can help children to focus better at school. And when these emotions are stored in them and they don't process them, they may become angry persons in the future, become difficult in the future. So we're looking at this situation has changed the lives and the outlook of people. So we need to be able to help them mentally, psychologically to deal with this, to learn coping skills and to be able to process this emotion. So that is one of the things that, having studied clinical psychology and going back home, I want to see how much we can work with children in schools. And like you said, giving already the structures of the church, I'm hoping that I'll be able to work with the ecclesiastical province and train from all these different provinces, start with small numbers and then start with pioneer schools, and then try to see how we can spread that out.
I cannot tell you how impressed I am to hear that. Because you see, you and I come from a society where we focus a lot on the physical. Does the child have food in their belly to eat? Are they going to school and stuff? Then any other behavior that is out of the norm, we just generally label it as strong head. Hit the child till he gets some sense in his head, just beat. Of course, I've come and teaching here, I can tell you it is night and day. Here you are actually taught to say, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Usually it is triggered by something. The kid may be aware of. They can have been a divorce at home. They could have been a grandparent that they were very close to who was passed on. And it's just sometimes even a pet. They had this little pet, the dog's got, and the child is traumatized. And sometimes you just like, I beg, dog, we would, hey, I beg, you know, and we underestimate the effect of those things on people. You mentioned all of this stuff even, we forget that there's the children too who are they're separated. You know, they've been separated from their family members. You grew up with your sibling. You don't know even where your mom or your dad is. Just imagine. It's different if you know that they have passed on, even there's a bit of closure in there that you know, but imagine sitting there and you have no clue. And then you're so young, you don't understand, you think maybe your father has abandoned you, maybe your mother has abandoned you, whereas it's these issues that you cannot quite explain. Anglophone and Francophone thing, the 1972, when the Fumban conference, do you think the child was the 3, 4, 5, understands the Fumban conference and whatever was happening there? He has no clue what the fight is even about to start with. And so to hear you say that you're going to take care of that part, which also is, so it's body, mind, and soul that is going to be looked after with this initiative that we are doing. And I cannot say how grateful, how glad I am to hear that, which is why I'm trying to do this here, so people can hear it too. I know it will resonate with them, and that they will do what they can to help. People can donate money, actually go to the $250 to sponsor a child. And what about if they happen to have gifts in kind? Would that be welcome too?
Yes, actually, talking about going back home to do this work with children in schools, you know, we need, because children cannot express themselves verbally. So sometimes we need to use games, toys, you know, things to help them express themselves. You can use maybe an animal to say, okay, put your family together. The child might put and say, tell a story about that. And they will be telling stories, projecting themselves and their family through those stories. So, you know, and then they'll be able to talk about the things without knowing that they're talking about it, but you can be able to get the information out of that. And sometimes when children are dysregulated, they may use like things like coloring, they may use, yes. Sometimes they may not know the emotions they have, but we can buy things like different faces, emoji faces, and as which face looks like your mom, which face looks like your dad, yourself, and then they'll show it, and you see from the faces they show the emotions that are there. You know, they may be able to recognize certain emotions, or if they are crying or they are feeling sad, you can name the emotions for them using those games you're playing. So, oh, I hear you, you sound frustrated, I fear you, you know, whatever. So we need, if we have toys, games, coloring books, and, you know, even games that are academic, that can help children academically, those things will be very welcome. So if you have toys, you have games like that, we'll be able to, it will be very helpful. You can send them to me. Or if you even have softly used clothes, because when we go back, there'll be that so many of these children who don't have clothes, their parents don't have, you know, we have Oprika back at home. So we could see this secondhand clothes also. If you have clothes that have been softly used and they're gently used and they're still good, which you can wash, clean, iron, and it's still presentable to give to somebody, we'll also welcome that. So if I can welcome all of those, if you're able to mail them to me, because that's another problem. But I'm thinking that by the time I'll be leaving home, leaving for Cameroon, which will be 2024, early 2024, I could ship them.
Right.
Yes, in containers.
Correct. And I think I don't know what other people who have containers, I just will figure out and maybe put them in contact with you. I have somebody in mind in particular. That would be Pauline Itube, that was in Sika with us too, who does, she has an AS Angels thing that she does. So I know that she ships things to Cameroon. Maybe put you two in contact so that she can figure it out. And I wouldn't mind coming to do an update on this show when we have specific addresses or places to send the things to. Then we can go ahead and actually let people know, because I don't know that right now you have a specific address people can send things to. Do you have one?
Yes, the address where I live, I could receive things there.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and share it?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll write it down so I can say it back after you.
3800.
Okay. 3800.
West Peterson Avenue.
It's like Peterson, Peter and S-O-N.
Correct.
Avenue.
Chicago. Illinois.
Illinois is I-L, right?
Yes. 60659.
60659. Let me try reading that back to you, see if I got it right. And I'm just going to repeat so people who are listening or watching can hear it again. So 3800 West Peterson Avenue, West, that's in W-E-S-T, Peterson, P-E-T-E-R-S-O-N Avenue, Chicago. Everybody knows how to spell Chicago, but just in case, C-H-I-C-A-G-O, Illinois, which is just I-L, and then the zip code is 60659. So if you have the things that she's talking about right there, if you want to go buy them brand new from the store, sure you could. If you are having children who are growing, those kids grow so fast. You have things that they have barely worn, and it's already the next school year, they've outgrown them. That's your last child. You're not having any more. Tubes are tied. Go ahead then and send those things that are for all ages, right? Because you have,
yes, all ages, women, men, girls, everybody, because I get these people they're all needy. So if you have clothes, women have lots of clothes that they don't need, they don't wear them anymore, shoes, whatever, that you think are good enough that another person can use.
Grateful and happy to have.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Not the ones that are missing 5 buttons, really.
No.
Take the time and sew those buttons back if at all you're going to do that. If not, please find something that you really
don't want to carry junk, but just you can carry something that is presentable that if you give to somebody to appreciate, because we meet those people who are really in need, and we know that they need those things, and we can share it with them, and especially children, and especially for the school children. I would really appreciate toys, games, color books,
maybe backpacks too.
Backpacks, anything that has to do with school, anything that children can use for school, board games, cars, whatever, little things that children can play with, because it is by playing with them that you build a relationship with them that helps them to be able to talk to you about what bothers them. And since I'll be working in the 5 ecclesiastical provinces in the different dioceses, I'll need a lot of toys for the schools. So I don't think I can have enough of it. So if you have it and you're able to ship them, and if you can support the shipping also to Cameroon, that will also be good.
Yes, that I know about this person I was talking about. And then if anybody was listening, people do send things to Cameroon a lot. If they're willing to actually help us with that, so we can send these things to people who really need them. Because it's one thing to do something for your business, and there is nothing wrong with that. That is, your business is legit. Hey, that's good. But you'll be doing something on the side now that is not business, that is simply charity. And God who sees will bless you for it. It's not a monetary thing that you get back. It's a happy thing. It really does do something to your mind. You go back and you lie down there and sleep and say, okay, somebody is actually there. So sometimes as we shop for those things, we look at the things and say, you really imagine the little person who will be in the thing. Like when we do the Samaritan's Purse over Christmas, you buy the shoes, you spend yourself praying over the pair of shoes, that whoever's little feet are going to fit inside these shoes. God bless them for me, kind of thing. It is a wonderful feeling, I tell you, to do that and do it for somebody who will be, it's only in heaven you'll see them. But not here. They don't get to say thank you, and there's no pomp and pageantry. It is very, very important to do that and change the life of a child who is going to now end up changing his own family's life, and then the cycle finally would end. At least we can reduce some of the pain in it. Is there anything else that I know that I don't want to try to go into the whole this, because that's the part that's really getting to me, the prostitution part, how people would take advantage. You have looked at the same situation that is happening there, and your impulse is to go, your reaction is to go see how you can help. Unfortunately, there's some people for whom they see the same thing, and it's how can I go and take advantage of it? Get them to work in a farm and you're not paying them. And then the worst one of all, get them into prostitution and just damage them. But that's something that doesn't just, it damages their souls, strips them of their dignity, strips them of their innocence as children, as young girls. How do you expect them, even when they're rescued now, to get that out of their minds and now have spouses or husbands down the road and really be good wives and good mothers down the road? That is where now the psychology part will come in. That's where the spiritual part, because what can God not do? In case of just like bandaging those wounds, those not physical wounds, those scars, getting them to heal and making them be. I'm looking forward to the day somebody is going to be able to come on out there and say, this is my story. This is my story, but because of these kinds of programs, look at where I am today. That is in my past. Look at now where I am. So I will go ahead and encourage giving you the courage to go on with what you're doing as a mission. I was even thinking to myself, now I don't know what I should call you. Is it Dr. Sister? Or is it Sister Doctor? I don't know which order, which order the things should go in, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm proud of you. I don't know what it is to say. Because you were in Form 2, you came in Form 2 when I was in Form 5. So I was in Form 4 when you came in Form 1.
Yes.
Yes, little Jackie.
Yes.
So I still think about, and you're a grown woman, but I still think about little Jackie in my mind, and then I see what you do, and I'm going, this is somebody who has really obeyed and followed her calling consistently, year after year after year. So selfless. Because even this education that you've come to do, I remember posting on Seeker Pride when you were leaving the Douala chapter.
Yes.
How many years ago was that? Is that?
8 years. This December will make 8 years. Yeah.
Not much time has gone by.
Much time has gone by. Yes, I had to, this December will make 8 years. Yeah, because I had to take on some subjects in to qualify to go into the doctoral program. You had to do some clinical psychology programs that I had not done before. So I used 2 years to do those programs. Then I did this now, finished, and it's time has gone by so fast. I've learned so much.
So fast. And then you're doing the right thing. You're going right back. Right source to go apply what it is that you have learned.
Yeah. And I feel there's so much need back at home that, I just feel it's so timely for me to be able to go back to do whatever I can do to help in a little way that I can do. Right. Because the 8 years ago you're talking about, the crisis had not started. Yes. The crisis started just after I left. Yes. 1 year after I left. God has an interesting way of doing things. It's like, begin to go. I have what you're coming back here to do, but you don't know. You never yet know, but go, that's all. When you get there, I will direct where it is you're supposed to go. You will see what you're going to come back and use that. I know. That is just so one. That is what the whole thing came to be, because I didn't plan to do this, do it this way. I was working, thinking of the prisons and all the like. But then while I was going, this crisis started, and then so I had to figure out what I wanted to specialize on. So I specialized on trauma because of the crisis. And then I started looking at, when I'm going back, how am I going to apply what I have studied? And it's just all coming together. I also just ended up doing a course on spiritual direction, because the person is holistic. You have the physical, you have the psychological, and the spiritual. So I'm looking into holistic health, and which, I have a nursing background, I have a psychology background, and I have a spiritual background as well. So I'm looking at this like a one-stop shop that you can offer to people where possible and necessary. And I just feel that God has just put it all together and brought it to this point, and then he said, now you have to go back and do this. So I'm hoping that he will continue to direct and guide. The 10 of us will be on our knees praying, because it's very clear to me. It's as clear as if somebody had written it down here for me to read it, that he has actually taken a person and fixed them. You know how they say for Queen Esther, for such a time as this, God and put in one person, put this element, added this element, added this element, added this element, and then said, go. Yes, it's just so wonderful, because that's the way I saw it. In fact, when I was coming in, I was thinking of like, I wanted to do something on spiritual direction as well, but it wasn't working out. I was trying to figure out how I was going to do this spiritual direction after doing psychology. And then as soon as I finished, I was just about to finish my class work on psychology, I got the scholarship to do spiritual direction. Just so timely. So I just said that this cannot be anybody else but God. Yeah, that's how he works. That is him for you. Yeah. And it is an amazing thing that you see, because the people who those kinds of things happen, they just say, yeah, my own day, just dance and be happy for yourself. They fail to see, when you see things through that lens, then you see pretty much everything that comes, including the person who is driving so slowly in front of you on your way to work, and you want to honk and pass them, and you're like, how do I know this is not God saying, stop, observe something?
don't get into this kind of thing that might be awaiting you there. You see the hand of God pretty much in everything you're doing, and then you listen, and he directs, and he directs. He opens the right doors at the right time. He shuts the ones that you're not supposed to go through at the right time, and everything falls into place so neatly. There is no way it could have been anything else. And I keep saying we cannot talk about being God's hands and feet here, because that time in the Old Testament where the raven will really come flap its wings and give Elijah the thing in his mouth, say, eat. When is that happening again out here now? I mean, you have miracles, they still happen, but that's not the everyday thing. It's going to have to be you and I to actually take the thing and go to the dollar store. Dollar store has toys. So some place there has things, and then you get them there. Even when you're getting for your own child, you just get 2 of the same thing, get 2 of the same one, sit down there. It doesn't take anything to go now to the post office. And let me just read that address again, that you'll be sending it to, for those of us who are out here in the States. You're sending it to 3800 West Peterson Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60659. And you can go to bed really feeling a little, say, I too tried my own little best. Or if you're there in Cameroon and you know any of these parishes, these dioceses where there's this thing up, I think even if you took maybe a bag of rice, I don't know, whatever it is that you've got that can help in the smooth running of these things. If you're a seamstress, I don't know whether you can be the one who can all sew uniforms. I do not know what it is that you can also pray and let God lead you to help. Textbooks. Maybe you're the kind of person who choose to do the textbooks thing and supply. That would be awesome. I'm pretty sure that they'd be only too happy but contact them and ask how you can help. So you don't really carry the gallons of oil all the way or whatever it is that you're taking there that may not be needed. I guess if you asked, they tell you. I'm sure these places, they have like supply lists of things. Maybe they do.
Yeah, so you can go to any of the parishes, but if you want to particularly give it to the SEV Foundation, you can go to any Sisters of St. Therese. You have them in, yes, Sisters of St. Therese. You have them in Boya, in Tiko, in Motengene, in Kumba.
Boya, Tiko. You said Kumba too, right?
Yes, and Mount Mary, Munya, Tiko, okay. CKC, Tiko, precisely CKC, Tiko, in Motengene, in the Catholic Mission, in Boya, Mount Mary, in Munya. You know, you can just go wherever, but whatever the case, even if you go to any mission and you said you want to give it, they'll be they are all helping.
Sisters of St. Therese, yes.
Sisters of St. Therese, yeah.
And if you're looking online, then you're going to the SEV Foundation.org is where you're going. For those of us who are not like on the ground, yeah, who are out here, you can go to the website and at least look for information there and donate through there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like us to know? Please just speak your heart and soul out and let us know what it is that we are sitting here and we only see, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because that's part of the story. We only see how many people have been shot in a riot somewhere, the kinds of things, and sometimes we don't see the humanitarian story behind, because each of these occurrences that happens, the repercussions are there. That person who got shot, I do not care who it is. Some people say it is the people from this side. The other say no, the disaster was done by the people on that side. This is not a blame. Who is the person? We are looking at unfortunately, the casualties, the collateral damage part of what is what we are looking at here, and trying to see what we can do to alleviate the innocent in this thing. The people who don't even have a clue, who don't have a hand in the fight, who are just suffering from the repercussions of that fight. So is there anything that any other aspect that you'd like to bring up that people should know?
No, I think I've talked about all the aspects that we work in, but one of the things that really puzzled me was some of the women who have gotten into prostitution, they find it hard to leave the prostitution now because they say that that's their livelihood. Now they don't have a means of livelihood. That's what they're using for a living. Sometimes we've brought them to the house. They say, are you going to give us food and take care of our children and whatever, all their bills and all the like. So if you want to give them a treat, one aspect that we are working on now is we are trying to see also how we can give the women skills.
Okay.
Yes. So actually now we are working on constructing like a poultry and a fish farm. So we want to, and soap making, those are 3 things we are working on right now. So we want to see how we can give them skills on to help themselves in the future. So that if they learn how to do poultry farms, it's not so complicated. We can also be able to give them a little bit of funding to start on their own so that they can start taking care of themselves and make themselves self-reliant.
Self-reliant is the word. They can sustain themselves. Then they don't need to go to sell their bodies, because that's what they're doing it in the first place. But if you give them something that they can use to earn a living, so it's not a one-time thing. And you give me some money today, I buy some food today, but what about tomorrow and next week?
Yeah.
And the months afterwards, yes.
In the long run, it's a little bit, I mean, I didn't want to talk about the bigger part of the project, but the bigger part of the project is we are trying to build a shelter at the Tiko Douala Road, Likoko to be precise. We're trying to build a shelter there where we can shelter more people, because where we have now, we are just renting a 4-bedroom house. But then we are thinking that where we have a shelter, if we build a shelter there, we have a poultry farm and a fish farm, and they learn soap making, then we can really give them skills that will help them to become self-reliant. Because when we went around looking at the women and the children who have been displaced who are in Douala, most of them don't have any job, they don't have anything to do, and they are home. You know, sometimes they don't find anything to do, they go to sell maybe Eru or whatever, and sometimes it's so slow, it's not working. So so where we are looking at other means of making them self-reliant. And one of the main things we're looking at now is a poultry farm and fish farming, as well as soap making. So we'll be moving to Tiko Douala Road the soonest we can, if we get the funding we are looking for, to build the shelter. We've already started constructing the poultry and the fish farm.
So you have a site already, site. So it's not as if you're looking for the land still. You have a site, is the construction of it.
Yes.
That is going that you need help with. Okay.
So that one is coming up. We've done the poultry already, the poultry farm already, the poultry building is on. We are working on the fish farms and the warehouses, but we are still looking for funds to build the shelter, because that is a lot more. But we are hoping that once we build the shelter, we'll provide them a safety and then an environment where they can learn. And then we are not just going to help them learn, but we are going to give them the support to get back on their feet and start their own projects wherever they can.
Correct. And I'm sure people who, once you establish what it is that the fields that they have studied in, that they have learned, people will be interested in employing them. You know, you have a business there, you do so and so thing. You find out what the areas of study, the various areas of studies are, and I'm sure any kind-hearted business owner would be able to find a place to give at least one opening for a secretary that is from an IDP trained in this program, to find a place to give them the hope they need so much to just be able to get back on their feet. I'm glad you added that part to it, because you never know who's listening, you never know who's capable of what, whether it's building materials that they're going to help, or they're going to offer the I don't know what I would call it, manpower, people who can actually go and help to do things, anything worthwhile could be of help. So I'm appealing to everybody who has listened, everybody who has watched. I hope it ignites something in your mind, where the next time you sit down there eating something on your table, you go, maybe I should also take care of somebody else other than me, who's maybe not going to bed, doesn't have any bed to go to tonight. Is it sleeping in one of those corridors? And I'll tell you, we just couldn't use, I've seen some of the footage that she says, you heard her talk about how she sent people out to go and look at so she's not just talking from guessing that there may be people out there. She has actually sent people out to go and do the feasibility studies, the research. So I have seen a couple of the videos. We just cannot play them here to you, because we don't have the people's permission to put out their story out there. So trust me, take her word for it, take mine for it. Maybe what you have seen your own self, you know, I saw this dad talk about his children. You know how helpless a man feels if he's there, but cannot provide for his children. Wife is not there anymore. Those girls that she's talking about in the corridors there, just no hope, just dejected. So what you're going to be doing is giving them hope, giving them a cause, a reason to look forward to better things in the future. And that there cannot be anything more noble than that. I don't know how to thank you for just the initiative. Thank you for following what God put in your heart and soul to do, because many have been called, and like Jonah have said no, and just said dismiss what the calling was. You have followed through with yours and just continue with every passing year to delve more and more and more into that calling, to the point of getting yourself a solid education. You are so well equipped to go out there and make a huge difference, which I know you will make by the grace of God. And so you still haven't told me whether I'm supposed to say, is this sister doctor or doctor sister? JACKIE Atabong.
Sister Dr. J.
There you go. Sister Dr.
Sister
J.
comes first.
Sister comes first. I should have known that. I should have guessed that myself. Sister comes first, because that's who you really are. And then I've added this education to the package. Yes. So
and just one thing I may add is that when I come back home, we'll also be having offering psychological treatment to people, not necessarily those who have gone through gone through the trauma of the war, but people who struggle with depression, anxiety, trauma in different ways, and whatever. You know, with us in Cameroon, we are not used to mental health, but you know, so that's one of the things that I'm sure we are going to try to educate people on, so that you have at least somebody you can come to in our own area who will be able to offer you some psychological assistance. So that will be one of the things that I hope I'll be able to offer when I get back home.
That's important. But sometimes the reason why people don't do that, first of all, you tend not to recognize it and acknowledge it as something that's even a problem to start with. Then even when you do, who to go tell it to? Because if you go tell your neighbor, then by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, it's all over the market now that this person came and said so and so thing. So when you have somebody who is a licensed professional person who listens to it the same way a priest does listen to confession, where they're tied to honoring the person's secrets, person's dignity, person's privacy, then that's a different way where you can actually go open up. Because no matter how we look at it, even if we don't acknowledge it, those things are there. And then somebody now loses it, and they're now on the street, and you say, no, it's the village people who have crushed him on it. But when they went through this trauma, we all sat down, we're seeing how much beating she got in the hands of this person where she was living in an abusive marriage, whether it's the man that was beaten or the woman that was beaten, or the child that was abused. Where do you think all those emotions go? Or the child who lost both parents? How can it be the same as if you were sitting here and you had a full belly, all your parents are there and everything? How can you say that it's the same, that nothing is different with a child who's gone through all of that stuff? It can't be. So the emotions are there. There has to be an outlet. And if there isn't, you're going to see what we see. What you and I know we see here and identify as issues, and then you need to talk it through and then do that clinically and then spiritually, because that is the bottom line of it all. Spiritually, when God who fixed you can mend you and say, put you back on that shelf, brand new, and say, go back out there and do. And we have the living proof. Because people here are not, I don't want to say shy, but I'm more open about it, and they'll tell you, and they're all the better for it, for having aired what's inside of them and come on out, owned their problem. Because how do you fix a thing you don't even acknowledge you have? That's why you go to that AA meeting, the Alcoholics Anonymous, and the first thing you're supposed to say is, I am an alcoholic. Acknowledge it first of all, then you can work to fix it. And these kids whom you're saying, the IDPs, but also people that you'd be very surprised out there who are going through things. You see them act away in the meeting. They're like, this woman. So do this, so do this. You're just angry with the person. But she's there. That's coming from somewhere. And that may taking care of all of those things could help. So if there's nothing else, then I can only say thank you again, Sister Doctor Jackie Atabong. I don't know, you're just a breath of fresh air. You really are. And I just pray that all the plans that God has for you, that they'll all be fulfilled, that you'll continue to have the energy and the strength to finish this last bit that you have left here, so that by the end of next year, early in 2024, when you go on back, Cameroon will be surprised at what arrived. the difference will be felt all over where you would go. Everybody would know something happened here that is more than meets the average eye. So I wish you only the very best. And I'm here. If there's ever anything, flyers to share, other appeals to make, I'd be very glad to make them. It doesn't take anything but get a wig, tie a tie, and come and sit here and smile and ask a few questions, and you answer them because you're the one that has the answers. So I wish you only the very best. And for those who are listening, you know what to do. One last time, I'll read that address: 3800 West Peterson Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60659. And you're looking out for the Sisters of St. Therese if you're trying to find guidance on where to go, what to do. Out of Boya, I think Tiko, Kumba, Mutengene, just pretty much ask. It's not hard at all to figure out. If you really want to and have had to, you can do it. So this has been a very special, heartwarming, heartbreaking too to hear the stories edition of the Musics and Music Show. We're talking about the support, empowerment of vulnerable persons foundation that Sister Dr. Jackie Atabong is in charge of. So thank you so much for listening. We wish you all the very best. Go out there and do your own part, do your own bit to make a difference. It's important. God bless you all and see you next time.